Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for episode 4 in the 6-part ITOps Times live micro-webinar series on internet resilience with our sponsor, Catchpoint. So here's a quick recap to bring us all up to date. In episode 1, we introduced the idea of internet resilience as a way to truly understand how users and customers experience your business. And we noted that the internet is like electricity and that every organization depends upon it. In episode 2, we discussed how internet performance monitoring can help get traditional application performance monitoring all the way to the end user experience, and pointed out that it's not an either or for APM and IPM. You should do both. Last time, it was shown how internet outages impact e-commerce and digital retail businesses, citing an average of 76 disruptions per month that have been shown to cost organizations between $100,000 and $55 million. Also, 61% of respondents to a survey said they need a tool to help them with internet performance monitoring. Okay, so that brings us up to speed. And all these sessions, by the way, are available on itopstimes.com under the Learning Center tab in the black bar at the top, under the webinars category. And you can watch them at your leisure on demand. Today, we'll be touching on how organizations can improve their network and API performance. And with us is Leo Vasilou. He's Catchpoint's Director of Product Marketing, to get into all that. Welcome, Leo.
Thank you very much, Dave. Happy to be here. And as you mentioned, currently in our product marketing organization with the goal of trying to help IT have better conversations with the business, bring 16 years of ops and infrastructure practitioner experience to the table, and am our author of our annual reliability report. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. All right, so let's get into it. I understand that a recent Forrester study on APIs touched on the areas of performance, and I'm hoping you can share some of the results of that with us.
Absolutely. And if I hit the present button here, there's really one critical slide to discuss. Is that coming through okay?
It certainly is.
Fantastic. So Forrester Consulting, on behalf of Catchpoint, right, a study commissioned by Catchpoint is, I believe, how I have to say this was done. Asked several hundred e-commerce companies, right, all over 1,000 employees, to research the cost and impact of these disruptions. And one of the questions they asked, well, actually, they asked two separate questions, and then they performed this correlation here, which was how challenging is it for your company to identify disruptions? And if we look at the red bars on the left, the category where testing internet performance monitoring on smaller systems, and then to the blue bars in the middle, where they do internet performance monitoring for only the most critical systems, and then the green bars on the right do internet performance monitoring across the full internet stack and enterprise, where API and gateways were one of the critical components that they could choose within those categories. You could see the general trend and directionality decreases the more you go from testing on smaller systems on the left to testing and monitoring the full internet stack and enterprise on the right. So having said that, if we go back now and press the stop sharing button, it brings me to what I wanted to say to actually get to the answer of your question. Is there's this old adage, something to the effect of, you cannot improve what you don't measure. Or sometimes we get people that like to be a little nitpicky and say, well, what if you accidentally improve it? To which I say, okay, fine. In which case we just rephrase or reword and say, you're not going to know by how much. So that's why I thought that was the most relevant piece of data from the study, is like you can actually see the why in the how much. So the short answer to start and dig in further is in order to improve performance, you must first measure it.
Absolutely. for sure. So how specifically do you guys monitor internet traffic, outages, disruptions, things of that nature?
There is a critical trend to sort of surface as context for the general nature of this conversation. We have always heard about more and more assets, if you will. Assets could be static images, etc., going to the edge. What we are seeing, though, the critical trend is that more types of assets are going to the edge, including functions, right? So compute is moving further to the edge as well. Excuse me. And these different these different components are different in different parts of the world. So think right now who your home ISP is, who my home ISP is, the people who are listening to us today, giving us some of their precious time, who their home ISPs are, and all of these different dimensions, right? Like home ISPs and the different edge providers that people use are part of that examples of what we measure to actually, now that we've given the context, get back to the essence of your question. So that is essentially encapsulated in what we talk about as internet performance monitoring, where you gain visibility into internet stack components such as traffic, availability, performance, reach, reliability, where traditional agent-based APM having a reach, and that's kind of that APM versus IPM handoff that you were talking about. But yeah, so the internet stack, that is directly our maniacal focus when we talk about the end user's experience.
Right. Yeah, I know a few years back, you guys were into what you were calling a digital experience monitoring. And I guess this takes it a step further from what the capabilities were at that time.
I agree. And, it's a great lead in. The way I talk about it is not unlike how monitoring evolved into what we now talk about observability, because the capabilities were upgraded to meet the needs of the world we live in over time. And in the same vein, we're really talking about an evolution of capabilities to go from the traditional, hey, am I up, to now managing the complexity of architectures and distribution of services that are different for every person in the world. I like I said, I kind of coined the phrase, everyone's got a different performance fingerprint, and you need the ability to match that fingerprint in order to do, for example, know where to focus your precious optimization activities, where to spend your precious few minutes of time you have today to make things better.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, and as we all know, how damaging it can be to organizations when there's a disruption or an outage, and the amount of money that it costs them all. So this seems to me like this would be a no-brainer for organizations to kind of start looking at that.
It's a no-brainer. It is not a risky, shiny like crypto, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I agree. There's no need to continue rambling.
That's great. All right, so that's really about all the time that we have for today. Leo Vasilou, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate your time.
You are most welcome. Thank you, Dave. Thank you to everyone who took the time to join and listen to us today.
Yeah, I'd like to thank those listeners as well. They're spending a few minutes with us. And we hope that they'll join us on June 1st for episode 5, when ITOps Times online and social media editor Katie D will step into the moderator's chair, and they'll be talking about improving the employee's digital experience and how internet performance monitoring can do that. So until we talk next, I'm Dave Rubinstein, editor-in-chief of ITOps Times, saying so long for now.
Cheers.